Hey, welcome back, everybody. Before we get into this episode, I've got a bit of a marketing pitch for you. I'm giving a try at actually having some podcast t-shirts available to you guys. If everything goes according to plan, for those of you watching the video, I'm going to have the mock-ups of the t-shirts superimposed so you'll be able to see them. If not, go to my Instagram page, Paul Pantani. I've got the post pinned. You can see the three options. There's a dark gray, there's a military green, and there's a black. The logo is it's inspired by the old G.I. Joe logo. So I hope you find it cool, find it interesting. You might be interested in the shirt. Besides that, for those of you that pre-order by May 19th, you'll not only receive your t-shirt, you'll get free shipping, and you'll be entered into a free drawing for a possible hoodie. So $30, you'll at least get a t-shirt. You potentially can get a free hoodie out of it, and you'll get free shipping, like I said, by May 19th. So if you're interested, please let me know. Reach out on Instagram, reach out, send me an email, however, but let me know what size, what color, that type of stuff. Other than that, I guess we should get going into this episode. Let's get into round 19 of the tactical transition tips. For the close range group, those of you who are transitioning either right now or maybe a year out, learn corporate social responsibility, CSR. For the medium range group, those of you that are going to be transitioning in, say, 3 to 5 years, consider a career coach. And for the long range group, those of you who've got at least a decade to go, advance your education.
When you transition out, is try to model all of the good things, the discipline, the structure, that little bit of rigidity into your everyday life. And I think that that's a great way to make that transition happen, man.
Figuring out who you are, not what you did. It's not who you are. It's a piece, but it's not the whole you.
Take the time to invest in yourself because it means everything. You know? That's what the difference is. The difference is not just to collect a check. It's to live 25 years, 30, 40 years after you retire and pay it forward that way.
For the close range group, you got to learn corporate social responsibility, or CSR. This may seem a bit touchy-feely. You may not buy into it, but what I will tell you is this is a significant component that all businesses are, if they haven't already moved towards this, are definitely moving towards this in the future. Bottom line, a company has a responsibility to the society that is around that entity. If it's a nationwide company, then they have a responsibility to the country. So understanding that that's where the future is, that's where the move is in the corporate sector, embrace it. Don't try to dig your heels in and say, I'm not interested in that, because companies are going that way. Some areas that are encompassed in CSR: environmental sustainability. How are companies reducing their carbon footprint on everybody around us? Everything that is going on, how are these companies putting less from a negative standpoint into our backyard? Or, if you haven't followed some of the negative aspects of the mining for the necessary natural minerals for all of the batteries on electric vehicles, it's having some negative blowback on the environmental impact. So companies are becoming more attuned to this. Society is demanding this out of more companies. Another aspect of CSR are ethical business practices. How does a company gather the kind of along the same lines that I just explained? Are they ethically sourcing the materials needed to make whatever product they're making? not only the impact on the environment, but how are they treating the people that are utilized in the gathering of those materials. Another thing is employee welfare. Employees want to know that they're working in a safe and healthy work environment. Companies are being expected to embrace this and to further this mindset that when you come to work for us, you are going to be treated how you feel you need to be treated. That's a component of this. All of this, like I said, could strike you as a little too touchy-feely, but that's where the future is, and you need to embrace it now, especially for those of you coming from these uniform services and possibly heading into the civilian job market. On the flip side to it, do a simple job search. CSR is actually a job category within a lot of companies now. So if you do have an immediate interest in this, if this is something that you feel resonates with you strongly, look into jobs that are going to be either in your area or where you want to relocate to and see who's offering these positions. Something to think about. For you, though, when you're going into the hiring process, just simply having a better understanding of CSR is going to give you an advantage. You could be competing against 10 people, 20 people, whatever it is, and maybe you're matching up fairly equally on your skill set, but maybe you understand CSR a little bit better. Maybe you've actually taken some steps, a simple class, if you find a free online class or some sort of certification might be that little feather in your cap. So utilize this to your advantage. Maybe you don't want to look for a CSR specific job. Maybe the company that you're going to look for isn't necessarily embracing it wholeheartedly. How can you utilize that to your advantage? I would say if you're going to bring CSR up in conversation during the hiring process, do it as politely as possible, even if you get the impression that maybe this company isn't completely on board, because some of the articles that I've read recently are companies will embrace one aspect, but they may not embrace the others. And so I would say tread lightly in how big of stones you want to throw at the company, as opposed to maybe being a source of or a voice of reason or a voice of education as to how the company could improve. Some ways that you can evaluate the company that you're going in to test for before you start into the hiring process is the simplest. Many companies today are posting their CSR, their annual CSR reports online. So look to see if the company that you're going to hire or apply for posts theirs, and can you review it, gather some information. At minimum, again, you're showing an interest in this company beyond the superficial. The next thing you can look for is a big certification that many companies seek or go after is the ISO 26000. Find out if this company has it. You might be able to ask this to the HR representative in the initial hiring process. You may be able to find it online, but do a little digging. See if you can find out if they have theirs. Simple one is monitor their social media. Look at their postings. Are they a company that posts a lot of positive engagement with their employees, positive engagement with the society around them? Are they pro the environment? Or is it the opposite? Is everything that is on social media maybe a negative? Maybe it's a repeated posting by customers or people that are unhappy with the company. Again, this may or may not sway your decision to work for them, but just understand, have that intelligence when you're going into the process as to what kind of stance this company has. You could even as simply make it a question that you ask during the hiring process. What are their CSR practices? You'll also be able to kind of get an impression just by going through the hiring process. How do they engage you? How do they treat you? Are you just a number? Do they make you feel like, welcome to our company, we would like to hire you? Or is it simply just a conveyor belt and jump on, test, jump off? So use your own senses to evaluate the company, but also ask. And like I said previously, if for whatever reason you feel that, or the impression that you get is that the company isn't embracing CSR as much and you want to make that a topic of conversation, just tread lightly on how you bring it up, because if you make them feel like you're judging them, that may not look too good for you in the hiring process. The medium range group. Consider hiring a career coach. Most important, a career coach is going to help you identify goals and develop a game plan, a strategy to get to that job or that job market. They're going to help you identify jobs that not only are of an interest to you, but that you're best suited for. I've said this in previous episodes. They're going to help you translate your skill set to the civilian job market. So they're going to help put you in the right arena for jobs that are viable for you, but at the same token, help you ferret out maybe some jobs that you haven't considered yet that might be of an interest to you. So it'll help you, in the simplest way, expand your horizon. Once you figure out, okay, I've identified this job market, this particular, maybe even narrowed it down to a specific company and a specific job with that company. However granular you get, that career coach is going to help you create a game plan for achieving that goal. What can you do over the next 3 to 5 years to ensure that if you're not the best candidate for when that position comes available, you're going to be definitely in the top 1%. Like I said before, they may even help you, and it may not even necessarily be a help you. They're going to be in the know of other jobs that maybe you haven't even thought about yet. So merely just getting the ability for them to offer suggestions of a potential path or a potential career that you're not even considering right now. So it's that, it's the old adage of an extra voice or a neutral party, because we get so wrapped up in what we want or what we think we want or where we want to get to. And sometimes we ignore the forest for the trees and we're just moving down our path. And somebody simply goes, hey, look to your left a little bit. Look what's over there. And you're like, oh, I wasn't even considering that. So they'll just maybe be able to point you in a direction you haven't considered before. They're going to help you nail down your resume and your cover letter, making sure that it is dialed in. If you feel like those are going to be something you might struggle with, again, seek out a career coach. The other thing that is a little plus is because of their network of people that they know, whether it be hiring managers within companies, other people working as career coaches, a myriad of networking possibilities, they're going to be open to or privy to new jobs before maybe even they're posted. So it's kind of like if you've ever gone through the process of buying a house and you're working with a realtor. Sometimes realtors learn of houses that are available for sale before they hit the MLS. So that little bit of extra knowledge might be worth it to you in the long run to help nail down the specific job or a better job that you want. The one thing to remember, though, is they're not free. That's their job, is to get you hired. So to help you along the process, you will have to pay. I don't know what the fees are because I think it's going to be based on, like everything else, location, what services they're offering. Are they meeting with you in person regularly? Is it all virtual? It's going to kind of be I would imagine, a sliding scale. But do some research on it. Maybe you don't go with the first one you come across. Maybe you talk to some people who have made their transition away. If they've used a career coach, did they like them? Did they not like them? But just remember that it is going to cost you some money. How it's going to benefit you, though, once you get into the hiring process. So they're going to not only help you get to the job you potentially want, they're going to be there through the process of going through the hiring and testing phase. So the most beneficial is they're going to help you prepare for your interview. They're going to be able to walk you through scenarios, and then most important, give you feedback on how you come across, how you sell yourself, how you sell your skills and experiences that you can then work on improving. So hopefully the first time you sit down with a hiring manager, with a CEO, with whoever's on the company side, maybe that's not the first time you've gone through what could be deemed as a formal interview process. They're going to be able to give you insights on a given company's hiring practices. Hey, be mindful that this testing is done. Maybe it's a behavioral analysis or an emotional intelligence test. Hey, your first interview with this company is often with this HR person. Let me give you a little bit of background on them. All of those little pieces of information, that intelligence gathering that you might be able to gather on your own, but you also might miss some of it, or some of it just may not be publicly known. It could be something that, hey, through a friend of a friend of a friend, I know this when you go into the hiring process. So just something to think about. They're going to possibly be able to give you some of that extra background info that might be worth the money. They may also so let's say you go into the hiring process, you don't make it, and the company, maybe they ghost you. Maybe you just don't hear anything back, or they give you the canned, thank you, but we've decided to go with somebody else. And even if you reach out and ask for input on what were your deficiencies, you may not get a complete answer. Maybe a career coach, because of their network of people, can better help you get some of that additional background. Maybe you completely didn't sell yourself, or maybe you came off too arrogant. Maybe you came off too passive. I know for a lot of those of us coming from the veteran and first responder community, we're often told, hey, back it off a little bit. Maybe don't be so aggressive. But sometimes it could have the detrimental effect, and maybe you come across way too passive, and maybe they were looking for you to be a little more assertive, a little more leader-like right out of the gate. So you might get access to some of that additional information for the next process. Hopefully, you get success on the first go, and now you're into the process of negotiating your pay, your contracts, all that. A career coach is going to help you through that process. They're going to know more of the industry standards as to what are the norms, what you can ask for. Maybe in your situation, you push for something, maybe more benefits and less pay, or whatever is going to be better for you in the long run. They're going to help you through that negotiating process. And last, it's a grind. The process of filling out applications, going to hiring events, sitting through meetings, scheduling them, all of that stuff is a grind. You need a cheerleader in your corner who understands the process that you're going through and is there to pat you on the back and say, it's going to be all right. We just got to keep moving forward, keep moving forward. So just that emotional support that they're going to be able to provide to you is going to be hugely beneficial to you. For the long range group, advance your education. This may sound cliche, and this may even just be my own personal bias, but I say over the next 10 years, 15 years, whatever your career looks like ahead of you, never stop learning. Always challenge yourself to learn new things. If for nothing else, it just keeps things interesting. There's something else that you can learn. Maybe you won't utilize it. Maybe it won't have any benefit to you professionally, but at the end of the day, it's going to benefit you as a person to learn more. Maybe you learn other aspects within your organization. Again, not that you necessarily want to do another job or do another assignment, But if you better understand how your team or your unit works in conjunction with another unit, you're going to be more valuable to your bosses. You may, at least in my organization, and I believe there are many organizations that do this, if you go to school and get that piece of paper, you're going to be able to check the box regardless what the degree is. They oftentimes don't care what the degree is in. They just want to know if you've got some sort of advanced degree. And with each one, bachelor's or a master's, there's a different box to check. And that's a little bit more pay in your paycheck, but also a little bit more towards your retirement in the long run. What you may need to evaluate is, well, it's a couple things. If you're in one of those situations where you work for a company that not only gives you a pay bump, but they offer incentives for you to go to school, whether it be tuition reimbursement, even if it's not full. If they're covering 75 to 80%, that's a huge plus to you. In addition, when you get done with that degree, they're going to give you more money every paycheck. How could you not go to school? How could you almost not be a professional student? Again, maybe that's just my bias. Maybe that's my personal opinion. But I do believe that there's a benefit to you. On the flip side, if there is no tuition reimbursement and there is no pay bump, then I understand your mindset being, well, then do I want to invest the money for me to go to college if I don't have a specific need for it? You have to make that call. For me, I would be thinking, okay, what do I want to do afterwards? And is a degree required for that job? If so, then you have to do it. And I would say start biting it off in small chunks now, as opposed to maybe trying to scramble for it a couple years from when you're looking to transition out. Or worst case scenario, maybe you have a job that you want to get to. It requires a college degree, but maybe you don't make it 10 years. Maybe you get that back injury, that knee injury, whatever, and now you're in a forced transition sooner than you wanted, and you weren't anticipating it, so you haven't gone and got that degree. So in the best scenario, your organization will offer you reimbursement to some degree. Hopefully it's full, but maybe even if it's half, 3/4, one class a semester. Over time, you're going to get through a program. Then on top of it, when you pop out the other end, if they're going to give you a pay bump, then it's well worth your time. If you have a career that you believe you want to transition to and it requires a degree, start biting that off in small chunks now. Get it out from underneath you so that you have that aspect well ahead of when you're going to need it. The ancillary benefit, though, that comes from immersing yourself in learning, whether it's formal education, whether it's going to as many training classes as you can, you're going to be exposed to not only other people who might open other doors for jobs that you might not be considering, or you might meet somebody who ends up being a mentor or a lifeline. Hey, I just heard about this job opening, are you interested in it? Again, it kind of goes back to the career coach. You never know who's going to be that person that's going to offer you that little piece of information, that little bit of intelligence that's going to benefit you in the long run. I have a recent guest who was going through some medical issues. He was on happened to be on a mailing list for classes at a particular college. This one email came through, hey, come on down. And he was hemming and hawing about it, but he pushed himself out of his comfort zone. Again, he was dealing with some medical issues, so he wasn't in the most cheery state, but he pushed himself. He went to this first meet and greet. Hey, this is what the program's about. But one of the questions that they asked during that he was not anticipating is, are you a veteran or a first responder? Because we offer tuition discounts and reimbursement for veterans and first responders. So by taking that first step, he gained the second step. Then the third step was he met one of the instructors who put him in touch with another instructor who basically became a mentor for him. So all of that simply because he got an email and went, you know what? I think I'm going to go check it out. So where I'm going with this is put yourself in positions to where, if nothing more, you gain some additional knowledge. On the complete opposite end of that, though, you may meet that right person or meet that right group or whatever that's going to benefit your career down the road. Don't be thinking today. Think about the situations and the people that you put yourself in front of and how it can benefit you down the road. If your organization will pay for you to go to college, please become a full-time student. That's the simplest way I can put it. If not, just always remember, you want to invest in yourself. You are a commodity. Make yourself better. Make yourself better to your organization. Make yourself better to the next company that you're going to want to work for. If you're interested in a particular topic, maybe you don't go down full bore into a college program. Start looking for any type of free classes or free training related to that topic. Gather some additional intelligence. See if it's something that you really want to invest the time in. You can find books, you can find magazines, you can find news articles on it as a preliminary. You could even look on YouTube to see if there's any information, people talking about that topic. But all of that is just kind of at the surface. But at least scratch the surface and see if it's worth it for you to jump in, as opposed to, oh, that kind of sounds interesting. I'm going to start a degree program, and then you're 2 or 3 classes into it and realize, man, this just completely isn't interesting to me. So do a little research from a free aspect and get as much information as you can. Maybe it's you take as many free classes over the next year or two until you're in a different financial situation, a different work situation to where you can commit to going to college, but you're still increasing your knowledge base in that interim. After you go to a training class, I would highly recommend that you do this not only for yourself, but do it to better your organization and those that are around you. If you can get to a training class, when you come back, do a write-up, 1 page. Hey, this is the overall topic. Here's some key points. Here's how it can be implemented. Whatever. 1, you practice your writing. 2, you have the ability to share that information and mentor others around you to maybe start their education process. If your organization has limitations on who you can forward that information to, then I would say go to your immediate supervisor and get permission to at least share it with your team. And give them a copy of it, more than likely electronic, and let them email it to the rest of the organization. Or maybe they'll give you, hey, yeah, go for it. Send it on out to the organization. And pretty soon what ends up happening is you start developing a known expertise within your organization. And where that benefits you is if today or tomorrow, maybe your assignment doesn't change, but maybe you get an ancillary assignment that is involved in training. And because of that ancillary assignment, worst case scenario, maybe there's some budget cuts and they're going to start looking to lay off people. Maybe that valuableness that you have to the organization because of the training that you're doing, the knowledge that you're imparting, maybe you save your job. I know it's a harsh way to look at it, but you need to be thinking about things like that. So share the information that you gather. Don't hoard it all to yourself, because at the end of the day, we're only as good as the people around us. And if you have some specific knowledge, share it with those that you're working with. Be a mentor to others, even if it's just an informal mentoring. If they have questions, be open, be honest with them. Encourage them to maybe just start looking into a topic or a subject that's important to them. And I'll close this up with saying, I personally cannot think of a negative to having more education than less. If you have a specific insight to how more education actually ended up being a negative, I'd love to hear it. So in closing up this episode, for the close range group, corporate social responsibility. We are in a time where it is more apparent that society is going to have demands on companies, and companies are going to need to be accountable to the society that they operate in. Understand that going in the door and try to embrace it and try to help a company as much as you can. For the medium range group, especially if you're on the fence about what you might want to do, or maybe if you just want to see what other options are available to you, consider hiring a career coach. And for the long range group, keep learning, advance your education, never stop challenging yourself to grow. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen or watch. Please help me grow the podcast in any way that you can. I need your support. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what I can present for you that helps you, that you think will benefit others. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.